David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight there is breaking news as we come on the air in the West. The deadly ICE shooting of that mother of three in Minneapolis, and now news coming in. 2 people have been shot by federal agents in Portland, Oregon. First tonight, the deadly ICE shooting of that mother of 3, igniting protests and outrage. Chilling videos showing the moment an ICE agent opens fire.
No!
Tonight we take you frame by frame. What happened? 37-year-old Renee Good was shot in the head, killed behind the wheel. And tonight the White House doubling down, defending ICE. The vice president saying of the driver, this was a tragedy of her own making. The Trump administration calling it self-defense. ICE agents using pepper spray and tear gas. And tonight the governor there putting the National Guard on alert now. And in Portland, Oregon at this hour, local and federal sources now telling ABC News federal agents have shot 2 people and what we know so far. Whit Johnson in Minneapolis. We're tracking dangerous, severe storms sweeping across the country, multiple tornadoes touching down. Families tonight describing homes violently shaking. The system moving across the south and into the east next. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. The breaking news tonight, the unprecedented move by NASA to bring astronauts home early. There has been a medical scare involving an astronaut on board the International Space Station and what we know so far. Tonight, President Trump telling the New York Times how long he believes the U.S. will be running Venezuela. And when asked if there were any limits to its global powers, he said he's restrained, quote, only by his own morality. Tonight, the expanding plans for changes to the White House. From the East Wing sheared off and the new ballroom coming, now the plans for the West Wing.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
What the architect is now signaling. Will the president pardon Sean Diddy Combs, what he's now saying? The America Strong surprise tonight. You met that grandfather, his treasured honeymoon video, the grandchildren one by one showing up at the door. Well, that new surprise right here tonight. And we remember a legendary songwriter tonight. You'll know his music from Johnny Cash to Willie Nelson.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. As we come on the air in the West tonight, we do begin here with breaking news. Federal sources telling ABC News that federal agents have shot 2 people in Portland, Oregon a short time ago. The agents who shot, we are told, are with the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. What we know so far on this. Also in Minneapolis, growing protests and outrage tonight after the deadly ICE shooting of a mother of 3 there. 2 very different takes on what happened there, and the images, of course, are disturbing. The video shows 37-year-old Renee Good behind the wheel of her SUV, partially blocking that intersection. An agent trying to open her door. You see the vehicle reverse and then drive forward. A third agent firing those 3 shots, killing the driver, shooting her in the head. After the shooting, the SUV accelerating and crashing into parked cars along the street. Witnesses horrified by what they saw. Tonight here, frame by frame, what happened, what we know about the agent who opened fire, where he was standing at the time. The White House doubling down, defending him and the ICE operation. Tonight, the vice president, in a rare appearance in the White House briefing room, saying of the driver, this was a, quote, tragedy of her own making. And tonight, that's the scene in Minneapolis. What we're also learning from Portland, Oregon at this hour. Whit Johnson leading us off now from Minneapolis.
Tonight, tensions rising on the streets of Minneapolis and across the country after an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old mother of 3 in her SUV as she began to drive forward. Protesters clashing with police demanding ICE leave their city.
ICE, go home!
Disturbing videos show officers approach the SUV, one of them grabbing the door handle as the vehicle backs up. Then you can see the wheels turn to the right, and when the driver begins to pull forward, another agent fires, hitting her in the head. The vehicle seen speeding up and then crashing into cars parked on the side of the street. Robert Boyce, former chief of detectives for the NYPD, analyzing the videos frame by frame, giving his view.
I see an officer getting struck by a vehicle, unknown how hard he was struck. Fire once, and then in quick succession, move to his right and fire another 2 shots. Shots 2 and 3 are the issue here, and that officer will have to explain himself why he fired those 2 rounds.
Boyce also weighing in on that officer standing in front of the car.
You never get in front of the car, and you never get in back of the car either, for that matter. You stay on the sides as safely as you can make it, and that's the whole thing.
Overnight, President Trump telling the New York Times about the driver, she behaved horribly, and then she ran him over. She didn't try to run him over, but when shown the video, the president also called it a terrible scene. In the White House briefing room today, Vice President J.D. Vance placed the blame on the driver.
I can believe that her death is a tragedy while also recognizing that it's a tragedy of her own making.
And went on to defend the officer this way.
She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself.
The Minneapolis mayor calling the Trump administration's narrative garbage.
Good had reportedly just dropped off her 6-year-old son at school Wednesday and was driving home when she encountered ICE agents and was shot on this street. You can see the growing memorial behind me where her vehicle came to rest.
Ashley Horan lives 1 block away.
Many people were out in the neighborhood at that moment, and it could have been any of us.
Renee Good was born in Colorado Springs. The mother of 3 recently moved to Minneapolis from Kansas City.
A neighbor who is not a terrorist, not an extremist. That was just a mom who loved her kids, loved her spouse.
Her mother telling the Minnesota Star Tribune she's taken care of people all her life. She was loving, forgiving, and affectionate. She was an amazing human being. Law enforcement officials tell ABC News the agent who killed Good is a 10-year veteran of ICE's Special Response Team, agents deployed in high-profile tactical situations. Tonight, the FBI is leading the investigation. Minnesota's governor says state investigators have been blocked from taking part.
We have learned that the Trump administration has now denied the state that ability to participate in the investigation. And I just want to make this as clear as possible to everyone. Minnesota must be part of this investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome.
And late today, another shooting involving federal agents, this time in Portland, Oregon. Sources tell ABC News 2 people were shot and wounded. The FBI is investigating.
And David, this area is less than a mile from where George Floyd was killed. You can see community members and activists have actually blocked off the street themselves. Governor Walz has also authorized the Minnesota National Guard to be staged and ready to help keep the peace if needed. David?
Whit Johnson, thank you. There's also breaking news coming in from NASA at this hour, the unprecedented move to bring astronauts home early. There has been a medical scare involving an astronaut on board the International Space Station, and what we know so far. Here's Reeve.
In an unprecedented move tonight, NASA announcing it will bring 4 astronauts home early from their mission at the International Space Station because of a medical issue with one of the crew.
Yesterday, a single crew member on board the station experienced a medical situation and is now stable. I've come to the decision that it's in the best interest of our astronauts to return Crew 11 ahead of their planned departure.
The crew was due to return next month, but NASA says they'll return to Earth within days. The astronaut with the medical concern has not been identified due to medical privacy.
This is not an emergent evacuation. We're not immediately disembarking and getting the astronaut down. But it leaves that lingering risk and lingering question as to what that diagnosis is. And that means there's some lingering risk for that astronaut on board.
The extraordinary move coming after Mission Control postponed a spacewalk scheduled for this morning.
And here they come. Crew 11.
The 4-person crew, including 2 Americans, launched into space on the SpaceX Dragon in August, joining other astronauts at the space station.
Hello and welcome to the International Space Station.
This will be the first medical evacuation from the space station in its 25-year history as a lab for astronauts.
The crew will return on a SpaceX Dragon, and that astronaut will be taken for medical evaluation immediately, David.
We're going to watch this closely. We'll Reeve, our thanks to you tonight. We're also tracking dangerous severe storms sweeping across the country. Multiple tornadoes touching down in Oklahoma. Families describing homes violently shaking. This system moving across the south into the east next. Severe storms possible from Louisiana to Alabama, then a second system targeting the northeast. So Lee Goldberg has the forecast and the images coming in tonight.
Tonight, severe storms slamming the Heartland, triggering multiple tornadoes.
Holy cow. That might be the worst damage. That's definitely the worst damage that I have seen.
In Purcell, Oklahoma, just outside Oklahoma City, a tornado with winds over 80 miles per hour, tearing that home apart with a family inside. Neighbors describing a terrifying scene.
We just normal morning getting ready for school. Our power went out, and within just a few seconds, it was like someone sneezed, and the whole entire house started shaking. Sounded like a freight train was, headed for our house.
The homeowners are okay, but they had just moved in only 4 months ago. At least 2 tornadoes touching down just after dawn. Powerful winds flipping over that tractor trailer on I-35, toppling trees and power lines. Tonight, that same system taking aim at Missouri up to Chicago and Minneapolis. Strong winds also pummeling the west. This tractor trailer tipping over, blocking traffic on I-5 in Pyramid Lake, California.
So let's bring in Lee Goldberg of WABC with us again tonight, tracking those powerful storms sweeping east. And Lee, you were saying this threat lasts right through the night?
Yes, David. The part of the storm that sparked the severe weather near Oklahoma, that's lifting toward Chicago right now. So we're seeing a good soaking across the Midwest, Chicago, all the way to Milwaukee. And that rain will last throughout the night. There's even a stripe of snow from Nebraska into Minnesota. Minneapolis will go from rain to snow throughout the night. Tomorrow, that lifts into Canada. We're more concerned about the southern part of the system and the severe weather. Isolated storms in the morning, but in the afternoon and evening, anywhere from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, northern Georgia. Storms could produce damaging winds, some hail, even an isolated tornado, and then the flash flooding, up to 4 inches of rain. Some of that heavy rain going into the Northeast over the weekend, maybe an inch here in New York City. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, thanks as always. Tonight, President Trump telling the New York Times how long he believes the U.S. will be running Venezuela, suggesting more than a year is very possible. And when the president was asked if there were any limits to his global powers, anything that could stop him, the president said, there is one thing, my own morality. Rachel Scott at the White House.
Tonight, President Trump telling the New York Times that the U.S. will be running Venezuela for, quote, much longer than a year.
How long do you think you'll be running Venezuela?
Only time will tell.
Like 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer?
I would say much longer than that.
Much longer.
And we have to rebuild. You have to rebuild the country, and we will rebuild it in a very profitable way. We're going to be using oil, and we're going to be taking oil.
The president has not said what gives him authority to run another country and has yet to outline his plan for governing Venezuela. He also is not ruling out putting American troops on the ground.
What would trigger a decision to send ground troops into Venezuela?
I wouldn't want to tell you that because, I can't give up information like that to a reporter.
And on Capitol Hill, the Senate took a big step toward blocking President Trump from taking further military action without Senate approval. 5 Republicans joining the Democrats.
This resolution is limited to Venezuela, and it says that for future armed hostilities, there needs to be congressional authorization.
Tonight, the New York Times asked the president whether there were any limits to his global powers.
Do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to?
Yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. It's the only thing that can stop. And
it was notable tonight, David, to see those 5 Senate Republicans break from the president on that war powers resolution. But even if it passes both chambers of Congress, the president will most likely veto it when it lands on his desk, David.
Rachel Scott live at the White House again tonight. Thank you, Rachel. Overseas tonight, protests spreading across Iran, crowds rallying in the streets of Tehran after the country's exiled crown prince called for mass anti-government demonstrations. Internet and phone access instantly cut. President Trump warning if Iran kills protesters, quote, we are going to hit them very hard. At least 36 protesters have been killed since demonstrations broke out there last month. Tonight, news here on the changes coming to the White House after the East Wing was demolished. The expanding plans now from the new ballroom to plans now for changes to part of the West Wing. What an architect signaled today. And here's Mary Bruce tonight.
After tearing down the East Wing of the White House to make way for President Trump's grand ballroom, tonight the president's architect revealing part of the historic West Wing may soon see changes too. A new second floor for, quote, symmetry. In August, we spotted the president standing on the roof of the West Wing, and he hinted it would also be part of the renovation.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there? What are you building?
The president recently saying his ballroom plans are only expanding.
now it's bigger than I told you.
Today, his architect presenting plans to the National Capital Planning Commission, saying the massive ballroom will be as tall as the main residence itself. So they want to add that second story to the West Wing colonnade so both sides will match. The ballroom's initial price tag of $200 million has now skyrocketed to $400 million. The president says it's being entirely paid for by private donors. And David, the president telling the New York Times he's calling this new part of the project the, quote, Upper West Wing, and that it could be used as additional office space for his staff or the First Lady's team. And he's not stopping there. He says he also plans to replace the walkways across the street here in Lafayette Park. David.
Mary Bruce with us tonight as well. Thank you, Mary. Late today, with more than 20 million Americans now facing those skyrocketing health care costs, the House now passing a bipartisan bill extending Obamacare subsidies. 17 Republicans joining Democrats, defying Speaker Mike Johnson and voting in favor of a 3-year extension on subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, which expired at the end of last year. The bill now heads to the Senate, but tonight Republican Majority Leader John Thune signaling it will likely fail without significant changes. When we come back tonight, the breaking news in New York City, police opening fire in the emergency room of a New York City hospital and what we're learning about this. Also, the dangerous police chase in New Jersey. 2 brothers now facing charges, the car flipping multiple times. Tonight, will President Trump pardon Sean Diddy Combs? What the president is now saying about this. And the America Strong surprise that even we didn't see coming. You met that grandfather, his treasured honeymoon video, the grandchildren showing up one by one at the door. But what those grandchildren didn't even tell us, and we'll show it to you when we come back. Well, tonight we have learned the NYPD has opened fire inside the emergency room of a Brooklyn hospital. They were responding to reports of a man with a knife in the ER at New York Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist. We're told one person was hurt, unclear if it was the suspect. There was a wild police chase in New Jersey, an alleged stolen BMW SUV flipping multiple times after crashing in Neptune Township. Police say the driver and passenger, 2 brothers, ran away. They were later taken into custody. Those brothers now face multiple charges, including receiving stolen property and resisting arrest by flight. When we come back tonight, will President Trump pardon Sean Diddy Combs? What he's now saying. And we remember a legendary songwriter tonight, songs from Johnny Cash to Willie Nelson in a moment. To the index of other news tonight, after suggesting he would consider it, tonight President Trump, when asked by the New York Times would he pardon Sean Diddy Combs, the president said he is not considering Combs' request for a pardon. The president says Combs previously asked for a pardon through a letter. Combs was sentenced to more than 4 years in prison. We have a passing to note tonight. Country music songwriter Jim McBride has died. You'll know his songs recorded by music legends Johnny Cash, George Jones, and Willie Nelson, among others. He wrote and co-wrote several classics, including Alan Jackson's Chattahoochee.
Yeah, way down yonder on the Chattahoochee, never knew how much that muddy water meant to me.
Gonna be in your head tonight. He was also a member of the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame. McBride was 78 years old. When we come back tonight, America Strong, you met that grandfather right here. The grandchildren, one by one, showing up at the door with their surprise. Well, tonight we learn what those grandchildren didn't tell their grandfather, and you'll see it. Finally tonight, the grandfather and that knock at the door, and then another and another. But there was something those grandchildren left out.
Coming.
Tonight here, so many of you at home were moved by those grandchildren who pulled off that surprise for their grandfather. Grandpa David, Papa turned 92. The family just lost their grandmother, Sally. Nana and Papa had been married 69 years, their honeymoon in 1956.
Hi, Bobby.
So for Papa's birthday, the grandchildren had an idea. Emily was coming over for dinner, but what he didn't know, granddaughter Julie knocking on the door too. Granddaughter Carly.
Oh my God.
Then his granddaughter Marley.
Hey, Funky.
His grandson Ben. Last but not least, his grandson Jake. All 6 grandchildren surprising him.
I can't get over this.
And tonight here, what we didn't know. They never told their grandfather he was going to be on World News Tonight. Finally tonight here, the knock at the door, and then another, and then another.
Tonight here, the family kicking off the new year. Incredible surprise.
His family sitting next to him during the news.
The door again. His grandson Ben.
And look at that grandfather when he heard what his grandchildren said about him.
We couldn't imagine a more perfect way of bringing in the new year by celebrating our Papa.
My Papa is one of the greatest people you'll ever meet.
To know our Papa is to love him unconditionally.
Our Papa is one of the kindest and purest souls on earth.
He's the warmest and funniest person I've ever known.
Papa, we love you so much.
Oh my God.
Papa, feeling love tonight.
And right here tonight,
Hi, David.
Grandpa David, Papa.
My wife, who passed away 4 months ago, never missed your show. To know that you wanted to share the story was just the icing on the cake.
And this evening, his message to all the grandparents and grandchildren out there watching.
All I can say is show up, be present for each other. It's a gift.
I love you.
Just incredible. We're sure Nana's smiling somewhere knowing Papa made the news. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.